H-Dub, H-Town, he like Bruce Wayne. Sunny in the H, but you know I see the shade. Kicking nose like Messi, but I feel like Luke Kang. And she liking all my stories, you know I'ma get to sliding, okay?
Hello and welcome back to Honest Hours. This is episode 2. Real people, real conversations about the topics that you want to hear. So we wanted to start this episode with a couple of corrections from the last episode, just things that we talked about and news updates. So we just discussed Charlie Kirk's murder and the investigation going on just a little bit. Yesterday, April 15th, the ATF released their report. We had heard that during the trial, they had found inconclusive evidence that the bullet that was recovered came from the gun. And here's what the report says: the caliber of the bullet is consistent with the Mauser 98 that was found that Robinson used, but it was too deformed and damaged after they had extracted the bullet to be able to make a full positive ID. But the casing that they did find at the scene did positively ID match to the gun. So it's starting to look like it's not exactly what a lot of people and a lot of conspiracy theorists were saying, that they were just kind of throwing shit at the wall, seeing what stuck. I mean, I'm going to pull up the laboratory report. They will see it on the screen. I mean, it looks like they did the due diligence to me. What do you guys have any new feelings, new thoughts about it?
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not.
it's not like you can't plant a casing on the ground. I mean, if you really wanted to go that route.
Yeah, no, I didn't think too deep on that one.
I mean, that was the only thing when you're like, well, the casing found at the scene. I'm like, well, I mean, it's not that hard to be like, well, is that the casing from the bullet? Like, how do you know it's the casing from the bullet? I mean, I'm like, we're going down the rabbit hole of like what ifs on this one. I mean, because yeah, I mean, the whole thing seemed like the whole investigation didn't seem like it was run very well.
Well, it was done really quick because obviously the FBI has to move quick, but the FBI was in Utah in just like a few hours. It was as if like they heard about it and then within a couple minutes were on the plane flying. So I think that was one of the reasons that people started thinking that maybe something wasn't exactly right or something was up. Was just how
Well,
quickly.
there was also a lot of like questions that weren't being answered and like weird things that kept like the FBI kept putting out. Like we got the guy, but it's not the guy. And then, but they have this other guy, and then, and then like I heard this thing the other day to where like the boyfriend like sent out a thing, basically like a text exchange apparently, saying that he was going to go out on his own terms, like, and so the narrative they're assuming is that he was going to go get himself killed, but I guess he turned himself in, and then so they retracted that and then came out with something else of like, oh yeah, he said he'll turn himself in. So I mean, that's what I heard. So yeah, I don't know, there's weird stuff, the whole kit and caboodle, plus like the shell. It's like they couldn't identify the bullet, but they could identify where it came, like what gun it came from. I mean, that just seems kind of odd. But I
Well,
mean, I
yeah,
don't know.
they're match at that point they're matching the caliber of the bullet that was recovered out of his. I believe it lodged in, or well, they claimed that it lodged into his spine. It was a 30-06. Um, but the casing that they recovered, it matched the like the firing pin. So that they're saying that since it was a 30-06 bullet that was recovered, but it was extremely damaged, that it matched the 30-06 casing that matched the fire pin that was recovered in the gun that was found in the woods. Which I mean, it sounds like they're
Snake
making leaps.
pants.
It sounds
Sorry.
like leaps, but
Well, it just sounded like a bunch of like I mean, I understand where he went, but it seemed like they're trying to make all these connections to like whatever. Because I mean, yeah, like I said, they didn't really do much of an investigation, and then like they're like, we got the guy, and then like here's some text messages that basically said he admitted, even though he went in and said not guilty, basically, and I didn't do it. Well, he didn't say I didn't do it, but he didn't, confess. Well, I don't know. Did he say he didn't do it?
Well, I mean, they claim that he confessed to his parents. I guess I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, why would he confess to his parents? Tell his parents he did it, and then his
Well, the whole
parents
thing
turned him
was,
in.
well, here's the thing I heard, which was the parents got word that the police were gonna kick in the door and raid their house. So like they convinced him to just turn himself in, so like he didn't get himself killed. So like it's kind of a new, that's what I've heard. So it's like new. It's like, oh, well, parents were worried for his safety, so they took the best alternative that they had because I think didn't they say that one of the father was friends with somebody like that was a police officer or a or
Well,
somebody.
I could be wrong. I wasn't the father a police officer, but he called another police officer because he didn't want to be the one that took him in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I thought it was he was friends with somebody,
I
but
know it was
I'm
somebody
not.
related to the family. Like there was a relationship with the officer
Yeah,
that
yeah,
did
like
end up taking him
that's
in.
what I mean. There was like a
Yeah.
friendship, and it could have been a past year that was a police officer that they talked to, and then they turned himself in. But yeah, that's kind of what I heard. And so like, and I'm actually kind of surprised that he didn't get killed. To be quite honest, because I mean the whole kit and caboodle was I'm like, no, they'll probably kill the guy. They kill
I'll
kill
wrap it.
somebody.
Yeah, wrap it up with a nice bow on it.
Yeah, and I imagine that was their game plan. If this was a, you know, not well, wasn't Tyler Robinson in a bigger conspiracy, so to speak, than what's being laid out. So, I mean, and so if it's a bigger conspiracy, obviously, then that means you've got people on the inside that are trying to like do stuff. So that's why I said you can lead yourself down a rabbit hole trying to be like the what if isms and all this. But then you can like something you can back up some of the things that you go down.
Yeah, there's just a million different angles you can look at it from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think the guy that the quit over Iran, some of the things
Oh
he
yeah.
said, like he mentioned Charlie Kirk, and he's like, well, we weren't able to like go to Leeds, and I think he also said that it's a tactic that they use is basically they don't tell you anything and they let you fill in the holes. So people will go down to the rabbit hole, and some people will end up in Wonderland, and some people might be right. So
Yeah, the part that just digs at me is I don't think we'll ever actually know, and if we do, I don't think people will accept it.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're not gonna no. It's like the JFK assassination. It's been what, almost 60 years now, or
And the
60.
Warren report, and you still got what, 10,000 documents redacted because
Yeah,
who's that CIA agent, John Kiriaki or who?
Kiriakou.
John Yaku.
Kiriakou quoted saying that his CIA director said that won't be released because it ties to Israel. Did I get that right?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Did he say that?
Yeah, there was on a clip. It's a clip that's been spreading around on the internet. I could try to find it. And we can post it
Well,
on
I
here.
mean, it's something I did say last week. Like I said, I think I did mention the Kennedy assassination last week,
Yeah,
and
you did. Yeah,
there was like he started wanting to put like APAC and all those Jewish lobbies, that supported Israel,
as a
you
foreign
know,
agent. Yeah,
foreign lobby, which means they'd have to go by different rules.
and they'd be
And
audited. Yeah.
yeah, and so then they're like, oh, we can't have that. And then all of a sudden he gets offed. Oh, and it didn't help that he was butting heads with the CIA at that point, had
Wasn't it? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, CIA's at that point was probably starting to be a little more of a rogue agency. And
Mhm.
they still kind of are. It's not like they're like all buddy buddy like the intelligence agencies. They're not like all buddy buddy
No.
with
And then there's another thing. JFK wanted to put in silver notes as an alternative to the Federal Reserve. Have you guys heard of that one too?
I have not.
Wanted to create it.
I,
He
I
wanted to produce a alternative to the Federal Reserve. It was supposed to be silver notes on a lower interest rate, where the government would control it, and I think that pissed off more on the Federal Reserve heads at that time as well. I can get that source pulled up here if you want to talk about something else.
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead and send it to me. I'll pull everything up in post and add it so that they can see.
yeah.
Perfect.
That way you could leak your information. It's fine.
I'll just dox myself.
Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, I could pull up some stuff, and then I'm like, yeah, I'll probably end up leaking, everything. Yeah, times.
Oh, here we go. It's Executive Order 11110. So the secretary would have been able to issue silver certificates if any were needed during the transition period under President Kennedy to eliminate silver certificates and use of Federal Reserve notes. So that's a fun one. I'll send that to you.
Angelo, since you wanted to talk about the petrodollar, I think last week, when did the petrodollar actually come into effect? Really?
Oh, good thing I have my notes here. Let me just. Okay, so I love this.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if that kind of went against the petrodollar thing that was going on at the time.
Well, no, it actually kind of ties into it. So I'm gonna go back to the 1940s just for clear context. So back in the 1940s, this is kind of the start of the whole foreign exchange um, concept. So 700 delegates from 44 nations all went to New Hampshire and they signed into a new monetary order. U.S. dollar was priced at $35 an ounce per gold, and that just basically started globalization, so other countries could internationally trade with each others. So in the 1960s, of course, there were cracks and overspending in the U.S. economy for the Vietnam War and Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society program, which then we start seeing the Fed print to compensate, just inflating our currency so we can pay for all that extra spending. So excuse me. So Charles de Gunfield, a French prime minister, and other nations wanted their gold, and they started to deplete the U.S. gold reserves since we had to give them back. So in 1971, that's where the temporary suspension of the dollar was backed. Sorry, the suspension of the U.S. dollar was backed by gold. And then later, OPEC in 1973, they started the oil embargo in retaliation, and mainly because of the Yom Kippur War that we sided with Israel. So then this started a thing where the U.S. was in conflict with other nations, and Henry Kissinger, Nixon's Secretary of State, negotiated with Saudi Arabia, who was the biggest OPEC member, and in that they created the petrodollar, in which we would give them advanced weaponry and security, and that would give the U.S. amazing economic leverage against the rest of the world because Saudi Arabia and the rest of the OPEC members would have to sell oil in US dollars. Effectively, every country now had to buy US dollars to then buy oil. And so that was kind of like that was kind of just an energy tax. So that just gave us the ability to just constantly rise our debt because we can finance it because other countries are buying it. So if we want to go into the deeper areas of that, I can go into that more into the podcast, but that's essentially how it started. And then obviously as later in the 1980s, so as we were funding Mexico and Latin American countries, they were building their infrastructures and they were using Wall Street banks to help fund their projects. However, when the new Fed chair, Paul Volcker, he hiked the interest rates in the 1980s just because we had an inflation uh, problem. We had an inflation problem essentially, and so when we hiked the interest rates, of course the U.S. dollar went up. That payments were really bad on the Latin American companies just developing, so they had to default on their loans. And other countries were like, holy crap, that's not good. Because they were also industrializing at the same time. And so other countries were trying to find an alternative out of there. And so, of course, that's where we see later in 2000, Saddam Hussein. He sold oil in euros, and we all knew how, well, America's playing or dropping bombs down on them. And we're saying that he had weapons of mass destruction. So that's why we go,
Well, we were kind of against Iraq long before that, considering he invaded Kuwait and then we stopped him. And then it seemed like, I mean, the whole, like, I always viewed the Iraq war as more of like, Bush finishing Daddy Dearest's job. And that's kind of how I saw the war because I'm like, everybody's like, oh, well, they sold us on all this. And I'm like, it was just Daddy Dearest, but it was actually Dick Cheney finishing up his thing. But that's beside the point, because considering Dick Cheney was the VP in both, Bush's
Mm.
administration. So yeah, it was more probably Dick's, you know,
Yeah, it was a long-standing
Yeah.
grudge that he came back to finish.
Oh yeah,
well,
and it
I
could
know,
also just be the military, taxpayer dollars using the military to
well, I
enforce
do
the
know Bush
petrodollar.
Sr. wanted to go into Iraq and kind of finish the job, but he couldn't do it. So we tried to get the Kurds in the northern regions of Iraq to like rebel, and then Saddam basically gassed them and killed them, and then we didn't do anything to stop it, and we're just like, you guy, as we wagged our finger at him, and then we kind of just let things go at that point. But obviously, we had a reason to go to the Middle East because of Afghanistan. I mean, unless you wanted to go into the conspiracies about 9/11 and all that other crap.
Oh no. Yeah, and
Eh,
that's gonna hope. Yeah, and I can say how the Epstein files opened a whole new can of worms with that email that says the Shadow 9/11 Committee. I don't want to go into that on this episode, but that could be
well,
another.
also, I guess I saw things where like there was a bunch of Israeli people that when the planes hit
Oh,
the
the dancing Israelis.
yeah, that were celebrating, and then all of a sudden somebody called the police on them, and like it's like, huh? And then I guess like one of the people in Libya is a who, one of the people in Libya. One of the hijackers is his nephew, and he's a Mossad asset working for Mossad inside Libya. So that kind of a little weird. And so yeah. So and also Saudi Arabia apparently had something to do with it. So it doesn't seem like it was all Al Qaeda,
Hmm.
but we went to war with Al Qaeda, which then kind of played the fear campaign on American citizens and up the patriotism, which then kind of gave Bush the carte blanche, or the Bush administration carte blanche, to launch a war against Iraq, and then uh, that's history, folks.
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
was Osama bin Laden a Saudi? Or
uh,
was he
I have
taking refuge in Saudi Arabia for a time?
Osama bin Laden.
I thought he was from an oil family in Saudi Arabia, right?
I have no idea his background, to be quite honest.
I can look into that, but the one thing I kind of wanted to hit was Howard Lutnick. Do you all know about the terrorist insurance thing that he had, and he wasn't even in his
Oh,
office?
yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody was freaking out because he had just taken
Oh,
the
is that
exact same insurance plan out on a huge skyscraper in LA.
Hmm. Yeah, so they were thinking like, oh, he's gonna do it again over there. So what are you guys' thoughts on that with 9/11 and Howard Lutnick? Obviously, 9/11 conspiracies are kind of taboo, but
well, Howard? I mean, that just goes to show, like, it doesn't Howard Lutnick kind of have his own connections inside, like, a lot of that stuff.
mhm,
So, like, basically, the whole gist is like he knew it was going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if the United States knew it was going to happen. I mean,
like a false flag,
when,
like they just
yeah,
let it happen.
yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I'm like, because it's like the likelihood of them. I mean, because then they got the Patriot Act on, and like they were able to like basically take away more of our rights because we're like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
you
they get to spy on us online like 24/7 now
Yep,
for
yeah,
basically
I
no
mean,
less
good
known
reason.
thing. Without a warrant, what's that? What do they call it now? FICA warrant? No, that's not it. Sorry, I'm blanking out. And I forget. Oh yes, oh, I'm supposed to look up Osama bin Laden's history. Oops.
no,
ADHD, guys.
we moved on,
ADHD.
so it's not that surprising that you forgot.
But I mean, that's how if we want to go down the really deep rabbit hole that just is, I mean, kind of corruption in the United States government. That's where Palantir got their start. Was 9/11. They were
What?
they were started as a private company so that they could spy and gather information on the United States citizens.
Well, yeah,
It was
also
funded by
Epstein.
CIA.
Yeah, it was also Epstein basically told Barack Ravid, the old prime minister of Israel, to invest in Palantir. There's a whole like thing of him like making a sales pitch onto like him trying to invest into like Palantir and all this other stuff.
Because Epstein was trying to, I don't know if it ever has been figured out, but Peter Thiel is in the Epstein files a decent amount, and I know there were a couple other emails where Epstein was telling other people to start putting, like, giving money to Peter Thiel. So I don't know
I've
if
said that
he
too, yeah.
was just a guy that knew a lot of guys, and Peter Thiel was asking him if he could get investors or if they were laundering money into it. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's shady.
I
no,
could imagine it could be both, you know? Like it would be easy to say, hey, throw your money in here, and then obviously,
I mean,
it was it private at the time, or was it still public, or was it public?
I mean, technically, it's still private. It
Oh yeah,
just
they could cook the
they
books. Like,
do the majority of their work with the actual United States government now. I think they're based inside of the Pentagon.
yeah, but doesn't the defense always like rechange their accounting? Like just with the Ukraine war, they said, oh, we had to adjust for depreciation on certain weaponry. And it's like, who the hell like
It's
really
funny
does
that they
that?
even like try, and they even have depreciation schedules and shit because it's been what 20 approximately 20 years since the United States government at least the defense sector has passed an audit.
Mm-hmm. We can't count what for 5 trillion in government spending to
And
them.
going back to 9/11, there was I think it was
you
So what's
kind
going
of
on?
just over $3 trillion that went missing. It was either 3 billion or $3 trillion that went missing
Oh,
the
it's a
day
T.
before
I
nine
remember
eleven.
that. Yep. Oh, and then was okay, this is gonna go into another rabbit hole. The day before 9/11, they were talking about how they were making fake food and kind of selling that to the public. I don't know if you guys heard that one too. I have to
I
find
haven't
that.
heard that
That's
one.
another rabbit hole. Yeah.
What do you mean by fake food?
Like
Yeah,
I I need the video right now. Sorry, we can circle back to that. I'm looking it up.
yeah, that just seems weird in general. Fake food at 9/11. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm tying a lot of crap, but I can bring it.
It's one of the more sane conspiracies I've heard.
Well, or it's just somebody that was selling fake food and just happened to get ended up in this shenanigans. Who
Well, no,
knows?
they were warning. Well, they were saying that there were certain companies that are starting to, and maybe it's not fake per se, but perhaps like how they artificially just spray these fruits and whatnot to make them look like they're ripe when they're not. Like I remember too many times where got a pack from Kroger just like a month ago, and they were brown on the outside on the peels, but on the inside they were still yellow, but it was mushy. Like it was Play-Doh, dude. It was disgusting.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I've like Kroger's gotten in trouble with the meats. Like, they dye their meats red. Like, especially after a couple days, they'll dye it red if it's still out there,
Mm-hmm.
because it starts getting a brown tint. So like, well, we can't have that. So, and then it's red again, like it's brand new. So yeah, and I think they got in trouble for that. So. But yeah, I mean, companies do a lot of nefarious shenanigans to, make sure they don't lose a buck.
Oh yeah, and then there's Walmart just faking the weight of how much meat you're getting.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I know.
is that they like put water or inject water into the meat to make it look bigger than it actually is?
It could be that, but also people been bringing scales into the stores, and they just kind of go to the manager and say, "What the hell are you doing here?" So like it says it's 3 pounds, and it's actually 2 15 pounds.
Well, it could also just be the fact that, because I worked at Arby's before, and this is pretty bad, but my manager, to like cut costs like on his food to make himself look better, he made like a regular roast beef sandwich. If you've ever had Arby's, in my time is 3 ounces of roast beef. He'd do two and a half. So yeah, it's probably something similar, and it could just be. It could. I doubt it's corporate, sponsored, but it's more like the incentive structure around it kind of incentivizes them to do kind of shady, stupid shit like this for the managers and other people, and then they put that down onto their employees so they can get their bonuses.
Did he just not like eat the meat in the background? Like he just put 2.5 ounces there and just ate the rest of the ounces himself? Or
Well, you cut it. You cut it right then and there as it's slicing, and then you just put it back on the thing. and then if you get more, you can always just put something. I think me and my friend that worked there, I think I just did 3, but when he worked, he did 2.5. So,
See,
because
that
yeah, I
that was
mean,
my favorite about working. I worked at a pizza place, and like when we made wings, like a half pound was normally like 6 or 7 wings. You'd throw an eighth in there just for you to have a little snack. I'd be
yeah.
taking that half pound Arby's meat and just shoving it down my gullet.
Well,
That's my little snack.
I kind of munched on the curly fries, so
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, that's my
fries were
favorite.
good to do it with too.
And I ate all the good ones. So,
So
You
you're the
I mean,
reason I
bastard.
got all the shitty fries.
Yeah, the
well, yeah,
small, like barely anything.
yeah,
Oh,
like there's the only good fries on the curly fries are the actual curly fries. But in my opinion, but that's
oh,
beside,
the ones, yeah, that are like the really tight wound. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. So,
Nice. Hey, speaking of conspiracies, should we circle back to last week's with the Titanic? I can probably explain who was on there. That
wow.
whole what, 30 minutes?
I joked earlier saying we're gonna get back to the Titanic, and lo and behold, we got
Here we
back
go.
to the
I'm
Titanic.
not gonna lie to you. When we brought up 9/11, I almost wanted to take it to the Titanic because 9/11 was another one where there were a lot of famous people who claimed they were supposed to be on the flights that were hijacked, and they
What?
like were late. Seth MacFarlane, the guy that created Family Guy, he was one of them. I think Michael Jackson claimed that he was supposed to be on one of the flights that got hijacked.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was
I mean,
another.
I don't know about that.
I
That's
wouldn't know about Michael Jackson being on a flight. That's kind of
Oh,
dangerous for the king of pop.
I'm looking. I swear I've heard
oh,
that.
first class. If he did
It's
it,
something
he.
probably like I can believe that.
But yeah.
I bet it wasn't like someone worse like Diddy at the time.
Oh,
Anyways,
okay.
so
Michael Jackson was reportedly scheduled to have a meeting inside of the World Trade Center on 9/11.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
wasn't
whoa.
okay. He wasn't on the flight.
Now, when Michael
If
Jackson was in
they
the
just
Epstein
naked or if
files,
they got. Huh?
oh, oh, nothing. We can go back to go continue.
Well, Michael Jackson was in the Epstein files, is what you just said. I'm just
He
like, wait,
was,
what?
yeah, yeah. But anyway, go on.
Everybody. I'm pretty sure you're probably in the Epstein files. Everybody's in the
Well,
Epstein files.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Jon Stewart was in the Epstein files, but it was like, can you have someone like Jon Stewart interview? It was like, and then he did a whole bit saying, excuse me, like Jon Stewart." That was just a whole funny thing. I gotta find that one now.
yeah. So, and also John Stewart's brother, I think, is like the head of something in the stock market. I forget, but yeah. So, I mean, there could be that too.
Yeah, if you had a couple $1 million and you were like somewhat famous, you probably had heard of Epstein or like been to a party that he was at. He was just like a huge face.
Well, yeah. I
But
mean, he was playing. You got like he was an intel officer in a manner of speaking. Basically, he just was the guy that gathered a bunch of intel. So basically, um, you basically how it works would be you just basically catch, throw your net out, catch a bunch of fish, and then like incorporate them into your network, and then you throw another net out, and then those people bring more people in, and then you just continuously just get more and more fish as you expand your network. And
Yeah.
so it was more just like an intelligence network disguised as a financial network that, and he had a lot of money coming in due to Wes Wexner and then obviously his own stuff eventually. So
oh
yeah.
yeah, and with that, with Wexner, I think you're kind of referring to the mega group. It's just with a few very powerful Jewish men that was created around early 2000s. But that's another point I can add to it. Um, how do you? I just put the Jon Stewart joke in the link, but I don't know if you want to share that now or another time. Not to sidetrack, but
Uh.
Basically it was just him with his like all of a sudden be like, I'm in the Epstein files, and he's like, and he said, I don't know. I've never seen it, so I'm trying to mimic what he'd probably do.
Well, I think we're about to listen to it,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah,
I
if
imagine
you,
it's him
I'll
basically being
pull
like,
that up. You guys
"What do you
continue.
mean?"
I'm trying to pull it up without doxing myself. So,
Yeah, you're
Oh,
welcome for the me basically worrying you about all that crap.
well, I knew that, but
it's like,
it
oh
is
no,
nice
what
to have
happened to
a.
him? Oh,
Yeah, because
he
if you
got
put it on
doxxed.
YouTube and you've signed into YouTube, you could probably have your name there, and then people could look up the name, and then yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to tell people how to find people.
Yeah, I appreciate
Then you
having
take
my
that and you take it
online
to the dark web.
anonymity, whatever.
Well,
Nimity.
I don't think we're doing probably a very good job of that, to be quite honest. That's beside the point.
As long as they don't have
Anyway,
my home address.
while he pulls that up, should I talk about who was supposed to be on the Titanic, or should we wait on that?
Well, I mean, my thing with the whole Titanic, if you're like going into like, they sunk it on purpose, I'm kind of like, I mean, you got to remember a lot of this stuff's more about long cons than it is about
Oh yeah,
immediate.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
it's not like they're like, oh, well, if we fail this time, we won't get it next year, in the next like 5 years, because obviously, I imagine this same proposal has been going on for a long time before it got to this point, and this point, it's like, oh, it's on the cusp, so we need to just
Oh,
push, push, and push. And since you got so close, when the next time comes, you'll be able to knock out all your other oppositions and be able to push it forward. It's kind of like,
well, this one's kind of interesting because one of them was John Jacob Astor the Fourth, and actually his ancestor John Jacob Astor was part. He was actually a part of the Second American Bank. Well, they called it the Second Bank of the United States. But yeah, his ancestor was actually part of that. So it's kind of ironic that one of his ancestors was saying against centralization or central banks. And then, of course, you have Isidor Straus. He was a co-owner of the Macy's department store. And then you have Benjamin Guggenheim, and he was just a wealthy mining magnate. Um, so just a lot of powerful people were on there, but that's really it. And then I can talk about how like Rothschild and J.P. Morgan, back in the 1985. Uh, oh Jesus, where's my fucking notes here? Sorry.
so two financial giants basically doing. What was JP
Basically,
Morgan actually a financial bank at the time, or
yeah,
I
yeah,
forget?
they were. So, well, JP Morgan, it wasn't JP Morgan Chase at the time,
Yeah,
obviously, but yeah, JP Morgan and the Rothschild family. But Rothschild family was, they were represented by August Belmont Jr., who just kind of gotten some of their um, shell companies from other banks from Europe to fund America. So basically, this is what happened. So when JP Morgan and the Rothschild family came to the United States Treasury, they basically gave them 3.5 million ounces of gold, which was the equivalent of 65 million, which was needed to bail out the banks. And so instantaneously, what they got was 30-year bonds, and that prevented the U.S. economy from defaulting on their debt and save the gold standard. And that was immediately so. And those 30-year bonds were sold immediately to the public within 20 minutes. And of course, that's where we got the whole oil, steel infrastructure, the whole industrial revolution kicked off because of that. Um,
well, wait, wouldn't this have happened in like the 1880s?
yeah, 1890. No, 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 1895. 1880s. There was a whole term. There was a panic of 1980
Yeah,
or sorry,
and
1893.
but the United States went through their industrial revolution, kind of in the early 1800s. So, I mean,
Uh,
I mean,
I thought it was to continue because I thought
granted, I
depression
imagine that
happened. Yeah, like they
like
did have their industrial period, but then they were going through a depression, and then obviously like some manufacturing had to go down, and then they needed a revival period. But
yeah.
yeah,
Also, I mean, to go into like industrialization, like I guess Lincoln had a plan to industrialize the South, just like try to like get their economies going,
mhm.
and obviously he died. And so like his successor VP was like, I don't want to do that. He didn't like that view of actually trying to rebuild the South, so he just didn't do it.
Mhm. And funny enough, I guess the way how J.P. Morgan and Rothschild got around it is it was from a forgotten 1862 Civil War statute. Um, basically, it was
You said 18. Sorry, I'm just sorry. I'm jumping.
Yeah, no,
1890.
it was a Civil War era statue. I'm trying to figure it out, but it's from Business Insider and Fine Neon. They quote, "Oh, the act of February 25th, 1862. It was a legal tender act, so it was like an emergency use for the Treasury to issue bonds and whatnot with foreign or big institutions that could provide capital."
Yeah, but to go back, you said the Rothschilds and J.P. Morgan happened in 1995.
No, well, yeah,
Or
they
1895. I
yeah,
mean,
1895 they helped the
okay.
U.S. provide they
When was
provided the capital.
when was the Spanish-American War? I know
Ooh,
it
let me
happened
look
in the
that up.
1890s, so I imagine that's why we got bankrupted. It's because of the war. But I when I'm
Spanish-American War was in 1898. Yeah. Ooh,
oh
in time.
1898. Okay,
It's a little after. But
yeah.
yeah,
It
I
was
guess we were needing that to fight them off.
well, no. Like, I mean, it was just a war. Obviously, we were probably having bad relations at the time, but that didn't, it is what it is at that point. And we were probably going into the thing, so that helped us and probably helped our manufacturing to get the arms so we can get the ship to where it needed to be so we could blow it up and then be like, go to war to get, all Puerto Rico and free Cuba and all that fun jazz.
Okay, before we, I have the video pulled up. So speaking of manufacturing, did you guys see that yesterday and today, the Pentagon has been in contact with the CEO of GM and Ford to ask
Really?
them to open or to
Weapons,
use
yeah, I heard it.
yeah use
Yeah.
fake weapons. That's
Yes, I bought Ford at the
crazy.
beginning of this year. I need a stock jump. Fuck yes.
It,
Okay, I'm
it's gonna
happy.
be one.
Let's get it. Oh,
I mean, maybe not, because they might be doing that more on a. They might be nationalizing some of that.
oh yeah, you're right. Ugh.
I mean, but also like I wouldn't expect much considering the fact that you got to remember they got to reconfigure their entire factories to
Well,
even
their
do that.
cars ain't selling shit, so might be better for
I
them.
mean, that's what happens when you make shit cars, but that's beside the point. I
Look,
drive
you
a Ford.
circled the
Hey,
problem. Oh,
I drive
I
a
did.
Ford. So I'm talking shit about Ford. Why I own a Ford? It's fine. It's
I
fine.
drive a Chevy. All
Well, yeah. So
I got the Germans, so I can't say shit. Volkswagen.
right,
Funny man Jon
you got the
Stewart
you
made
got the
quite the
German.
admission on his
The
Comedy
German.
Central
Yeah.
show
you
last
guys
night,
see that?
Yeah.
revealing he's
Yeah,
in the
we
Epstein
can.
files.
Oh,
But
well,
it's not
watch
as
the video.
nefarious as it sounds.
Jon Stewart drops a bombshell.
I am also in the files.
It's true, his name appears in the latest document dump from the Epstein files.
This is actually true.
The stunned Daily Show host says he's mentioned in an email sent from a Hollywood producer to Jeffrey Epstein suggesting Stewart as the host for a proposed TV special.
Somebody like Jon Stewart could host / narrate the biographical part. Excuse me? I am offended. Somebody like Jon Stewart?
The show never happened, and Stewart says he never did meet Epstein. Meanwhile, former CNN anchor Don Lemon is speaking out about his arrest at a Los Angeles hotel.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Don Lemon.
Fuck Don Lemon. Him and his terrible fashion sense of sweatshirts and a blazer.
Well, I mean, it's just Don Lemon, and he works for CNN, so I wouldn't say that's the most trustworthy news source at this point.
Nope.
No, which speaking of like ex CNN guys, have you guys ever or like seen anything about Newsweek?
I don't think so, no.
Sorry about. Is it Cuomo you're trying to
Yeah.
refer?
Well, yeah, he's kind of like I think their lead like anchor.
Well, yeah. I mean,
commentator.
after he kind of got axed because he was coordinating with his brother for his gubernatorial thing.
Oh, gubernatorial? Fuck that.
Yeah.
Failing people in the
Yeah, I don't-
hospital.
Ever since he went to Newsweek, he's kind of had some like decent takes. It's
yeah.
not unwatchable.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he's not working for a corporation that's like,
Pushing
yeah.
propaganda.
Plus, he's trying to rebrand his image, so it's not like you know, he still has those raw tendencies, but he's like his, you know, remember he's coming from a politician family, and he's in the media, so he has a lot of media training. So he's curtailing his things to have a little more like, yeah, these things are bad now, even though I probably supported them when I worked at CNN.
Well, he's probably paid a lot of money to push propaganda, and now that he's on his own, he has to build his own base, and he knows, as you said, he's been in the industry. He knows what people like to hear, so he can adjust pretty quick. Like
Yeah,
Tucker
but
Carlson
normally
too.
you see people like that just like double down. Like Don Lemon he left CNN. I don't know where.
Well,
I don't,
Don Lemon's an idiot, so I
well,
wouldn't use him as an example.
fair enough. But
Yeah,
then like you see
he's
you
on
see
the
somebody
emotional
like
crap.
that they go and then they join in a riot that they stormed a church.
Well, I wouldn't say
What?
joined in. He kind of got word of the riot happening, so he decided to take the opportunity to, you know, like a news person would, to film it for content. And so, and then obviously it's Don Lemon, so he kind of got caught up in shit. So,
Yeah, he brought them coffees and then followed them into the church, and
See, he's just continuing his brand from CNN from there. Not really doing
well, yeah,
anything
he,
different.
no, that's what I mean. He's an idiot. It's because he thought his brand was good. Um, uh,
Crap News Network. Good job.
well, it's like, do you really think your brand was good considering the fact that CNN's ratings are trash? But I digress.
Social media got to him. All the blue hair and dyes and whatnot.
Well, I
he
mean,
he doesn't have any
That was
hair.
bad.
He doesn't have hair to dye.
Oh no.
It
I
was the
meant
mindset.
yeah. He kind of started championing like the, you know, the woke
radical. Yeah,
things.
that.
So he started doing that, and then he just never like kind of went away from it entirely. And he thought that was popular, and like to a certain crowd, yeah, that is popular.
I mean,
Um,
during the BLM riots, right? Like that's
Well,
kind
I
of
mean,
where
yeah,
he
woke
kicked
was
off.
popular from what, like 17 to like 22, 23.
well, it's more popular for probably the more educated people. Um,
College kids.
because it's like it's a philosophical question. Like, you know, if we want to talk about transgenderism, it's a philosophical question. Well, what is gender? It's like, well, you know, and it's like, well, if this person thinks their gender is this, does that actually mean that's their gender? So it takes more of a philosophical view of things rather than an actual scientific view of things, which is what gender is. It's a science.
Yeah, and
So
then you
I mean,
just have to keep one-upping each other to show that you're better.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I mean,
Like
that's
who's
kind of where I
better?
land. The whole transgender thing is like, well, you were born a man, and there is a phrasing, or a man or a woman, I should say. There is a phrasing, you can't always get what you want. So I'm kind of like, even if you want to be a man and want to be a girl, it's kind of like, or a girl, it's kind of like, well, you know, the hand you were dealt is you had an XY chromosome or an XX chromosome, which means you're a man or a woman. So it's kind of like, and then obviously there's the things that mess up with the X and Y's, and you get kind of weird shenanigans after that. So, but
Oh yeah, the
that's
hermaphrodites. Those
digress.
tricky dicks.
Well, it's some people that might not fully form their, you know, whatever, but they seem like they're females, or, you know, men that are more femalish. It's weird. I don't want to get into
Yeah.
science, and I'm not
No, no, no.
100.
I get it. There's a kid who had something going on, and so he had to get testosterone pills, and that was like before the whole transgenderism stuff. So I know that's kind of
Yeah.
normal.
Well, yeah, I'm just like the science behind that. It's just, but I'm just kind of like, well, you know, I understand it. I mean, and then if you wanted me to get into like a spiritual thing that I thought of, I'm like, for people that like, you know, men or women who feel like they're supposed to be a female or male, like, you know, I'll give you a spiritual take I have. It's kind of like, well, you know, maybe in a past life they were a man and now they're a woman. But, you know, when their thing got erased, you know, so they don't fully identify with their gender because they're so used to being a man in a previous life or a woman in a previous life.
Are
There's
you
a spiritual
Buddhist?
take. No, I'm just saying
Oh,
there's a spiritual take in it.
Yeah,
I was gonna
I
say,
like
are
the
mean,
you
Gnostic.
Buddhist and I didn't know that?
no. I'm just saying there's, I
No,
mean,
no, no. He's religious fluid.
Oh, is that what?
I'm nothing basically. I mean, I'm raised Christian, so I basically follow the Christian shenanigans, but kind of
Christian
like
adjacent.
well, like Christian holidays, I'll probably side with Christianity over any other religion, just because I mean, that's the side I
Because the
grew up
Bible
in.
says so.
Yeah, that's the side I grew up in, so that's probably the side I'd take if push comes to shove. But I mean, to be quite honest, all religions have their problems, and but overall, I think what they try to do is morally good. But there's some caveats that always pop up because of humanity, and then there's things and stories that kind of don't always make sense, and exaggerated stories or da 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 da.
Isn't that the whole
So
point, though? Even though it's exaggerated, you're supposed to have faith that it's accurate.
yeah, but that's the problem. I don't have faith.
To be honest with you,
Faith is
Uh, uh,
lost upon you.
yeah, I'm supposed to have faith, and I mean, if I'm supposed to have faith, then I should believe in the Hellenic gods of Zeus and all that. Like, come on, like, where are those gods? Well, they kind of got like crushed
Yeah, I've
by
seen people
Catholicism.
turn water into wine, but it normally takes like what, a couple of days, a couple months.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, I'm just kind of yeah. I mean, plus well, mine's more of the human aspect. Like, if you believe Jesus or Jesus is the Messiah, you know, and you're going to go out and spread the word, because you got to remember all this stuff that's being told in Christianity. I've never read the Bible, but I kind of know some of the stuff in it. So so anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's most of the stuff comes from his apostles, or the people that were around Jesus, and not Jesus himself. It's just quotes of what these people saw and what they wrote. And then, as as rumors go, I can tell Angelo something, and then as it gets back to Monk, it could be something entirely different.
It's like a game of
So
telephone.
yeah,
yeah,
telephone.
I had this really bad conversation with a Catholic friend earlier, and I sent him a video of this guy named Professor Zhang, and he kind of goes into the early
Oh yeah,
church, and he
yeah,
goes,
Jay,
I've heard of this guy.
yeah,
yeah,
he's controversial, and so essentially the whole gist of it is that there's this theory that Paul was a spy because obviously he wasn't part of the 12 disciples, and then obviously he was a Greek who went to a Greek mysticism school, and I think it was Taurus or some kind of it was anyway. But the whole gist of it was that when he was going to the Gentiles, they were comparing Christianity, and he was this is going to give me a lot of hate, but basically it was a race of, well, we'll see which Christianity spreads more and who gets more followers of Christ, and then we'll say that's what the church should be. It was kind of like a perverted way, how Paul was saying he was taking Jesus' messages and saying, actually, no, it should be interpreted this way. That's a very abridged version. That's going to give me a lot of hate with a bunch of Catholics.
well, with
Um,
the Catholic side, my take on the Catholic thing, I don't know much of the history, is more or less there was a bunch of Catholicism that went around, and then the Romans were like, you know what we need to do? Just make somebody a pope, and that way we can always be, the lead in the world.
well, they had well, they had Christian emperors before they made it the official,
Yeah,
the religion of the Roman Empire. But the biggest thing was when Jesus was spreading the words, a lot of the slaves were like, "Wait, really? We go into heaven after we die, and we don't have to fear our masters." And so, and a lot of people don't know this, but Rome was basically just a slave economy. And
yeah,
so, of course, when you have somebody spreading to millions or what hundreds of thousands of slaves saying, "Hey, you don't have to listen to your master. Everyone's equal." And when you die, you can reach enlightenment, which was heaven, and his saying, the divine spark inside you, all that Bible verse quotes, whatnot. But then that's where the theory of Paul was a spy, because he was basically saying to the Jews, or to the slaves, no, you still have to, be good in the land. And so if you are good and don't sin and whatnot, you can go into heaven. That's what Jesus was actually teaching with his sacrifice. That's why he did X, Y, Z, yada, yada. And of course, that's where a lot of people are saying, no, Paul, you're not actually spreading the message pretty well. And that's just where we get into a whole debacle of what was
Well,
I'm so tired.
since
Yeah.
you went into Zhang and all that, my only problem with Zhang is like he has such an obsession with secret cults and like how they're all religious and stuff. I'm like, what makes you think the religion is the only secret cult in the world? I'm like,
Well,
I mean,
I
that's kind of my thing because you know he has this whole thing with Iran because that's kind of how I got introduced to him is like some of the takes he did on Iran and you know and then like he go into like you know how they want to create the end times and blah 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 and there's secret cults inside the you know government which is I mean you can actually kind of see it but it's just kind of like guy like there's other parties involved outside of these Christian like evangelicals that want to end the world so like you know it's like it's kind of I mean if you look at our government the last however many years it's like kind of been a tug of war of which kind of idea actually we're going like because we go this direction and then we go this direction then we go this direction then we go this direction it's like it's just a crapshoot on where we land it's like
Mhm.
who's more influential at the time and right now in our U.S. government the Israelis are the most influential but there's a lot of probably powers that behind them that are actually siding with them too like you know powers that we don't see but we can kind of feel
Mhm.
Yeah, which
Green lights
I
speed.
think
Nice.
that they're obviously they're going to have their systemic power just because they're so deeply ingrained. But I think a lot
yeah
of the American public starting to wake up to just how corrupt the system is, which I mean that puts a smile on my face.
well we've
Oh,
always
same here.
known yeah, we've always known the system's corrupt. The problem's been like how
Identifying
much?
who?
Well, how much? And like so we don't care. Like to be quite honest, if everybody was making $1 million, everybody had a happy life, everybody had like, you know, homes that they could buy, there was no like real economic like very little economic pain, you know, do you really think people would be paying attention to politics? No, that's people
No.
don't like. That's why they leave politics to the politicians, people who want to lead.
Mhm. And during
You
the
know,
boomer thing.
people just want to live their lives, try to do the best they can to make the best out of their lives. You know, create a family and kind of just keep their you know just live a happy life. You know, live the American dream, as they say. And so like now that the American dream just keeps falling apart, like nobody can make the American dream anymore. It's like then people are looking to leadership. And as people are looking to leadership, then they start seeing all these problems that they kind of knew about, but they didn't really pay much attention to because their lives were good. Now their lives are bad. They want the government to fix it, but the government's corrupt. And they're like, why aren't you fixing this? Why aren't you doing your job? Why aren't you actually, you know, doing what you're supposed to be doing? Like, you're supposed to be serving us. It's not the other way around, you know?
Mhm.
So it's, I mean, so it's like, it's, you know, basically we should have a reverse quote of it's like, not, don't ask what you could do for your, or don't ask what the government can do for you, but what you could do for the government, but except it's the opposite now. It's like, well, we should be asking what our government can do for us, but then we kind of get slandered or told to shut up when
Yeah.
so you know when we're like give us something and they're like it's like and also it's like they kind of knew back in the day you know to actually like if they're going to do like corrupt power grabs and other things to you know give something away well they kind of forgot that so they're like they want to soak up all the power they want to centralize all the power but they don't want to give anything back they don't want to give us something for the things they're taking. Like that's why we sold our, you know, when I said the Patriot Act earlier, that's why we kind of sold our souls for the Patriot Act because what they were selling us and what we thought we were getting is security. But then we realized, well, we're not really secure, and you guys keep doing, you know, keep seizing all of our power and seizing our
Mhm.
rights in the guise of security. It's like, well, what are we getting out of this Feistian bargain? It's like we're not getting anything.
And then they
So
just keep telling you you're getting security, you're getting security.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like we
Yeah.
don't see it.
No,
And then
no,
like
they
you know,
just lie to our face. They lie straight through their teeth and then act like we don't understand or don't see what's going on.
and the reason why they're doing that too is because they realize they're losing control. And as you lose control, you try to soak up as much power as you can. to maintain power and control. And that's kind of like, and that's why like we've made the presidency so powerful. It's because Congress, the Senate and the congressional people don't want to vote on anything, because if they vote on anything and people don't like what they voted on, well, they get booted out. I mean, it happened with Iraq when everybody voted for the war of Iraq. Everybody had to deal with a reckoning because they voted for a war in Iraq. It's like, okay, well, you didn't ask questions that you should have probably at the time, and you kind of went with the status quo, and now you kind of dealing with the piper. And then that's also why they have like the filibuster. It's kind of like there's a hell of a lot of things that they should, they throw into the filibuster because they don't want to vote on it. Like they don't want to be on record to vote on this. So that's why they just throw things in the filibuster, and then they never vote on anything unless, same thing with the budget. It's like they kind of hold Congress hostage to like make sure they sign this budget. Like it doesn't matter who's in government, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, to do the same thing. It's like they'll wait until the last second, then they'll introduce their budget bill to like Congress, and by this time it's usually like a holiday, or like, oh my gosh, a shutdown's around the corner, or and so like they have like 5 minutes to read it, to figure out what the hell's going on, and then they either have to make the decision of agreeing with it or not, and then so they have to go with on hearsay most of it. So, and then when your politician guy in charge is telling you sweet and honeyed words that this is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, or the opposition saying, well, this sucks, then you're just going to side with them. Because, I mean, you don't like, and you might read some of it, you might have your staff read some of it and report back to you, but overall, you don't have enough time to like kind of grapple with it. And
Yeah,
it's
you
not
only
like,
got two options.
well, yeah, and it's not like, you know, these people are the smartest people in the world. I mean, they're relatively dumb. I mean, that's why they're in power. But that's beside the point. Sorry, it's because obviously that comes with the territory of funding, and it's like you don't want smart people to like get in power, especially if you want puppets,
Yeah,
because you don't
disrupts
want,
the party. You
well,
you know,
you don't want the puppet to realize that they're actually the puppet master. Because this funny thing is, like Congress and Senate, it's like they have so much power, yet they act like such like a such like they don't have power. It's so funny. It's like you guys realize you have like a hell of
well,
a lot of power. You could basically use your power to force yourself to get funding from these assholes rather than beg beg for money. It's kind of like you could basically be like, well, if you don't do this, then I'll just do these policies that you don't want me to do. I can get people behind it. It's like you do realize you actually have the power. You can blackmail them rather than them blackmail you. It's kind of like, guys, like you guys don't understand the power dynamic. It's like you think these people hold the power, but in all reality, they put you in power. It's not
well,
they're not in power, you're in power.
I agree
So,
with that, but it's kind of hard now when you have Central Intelligence enforcing, these blackmail rings. As we mentioned last week, you have the
well, I
CIA
mean,
and the Mossad
that's what I'm.
having
Well,
these.
that's what the rogue. That's also where the rogue agency that I talked about, like the intelligence agencies, they're like separate from the government, but they're part of the government. But they
Mhm.
also get curtailed by the government too. It's not like, because they got curtailed back in like the 60s, 70s when they were
Well,
running
during
all,
JFK, before he got.
no, even before that, like like they were running like psyop programs inside the United States, and we're like, and then
Okay,
all of a
well, true.
sudden, and then the Congress investigated this, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And then
Oh
they
yeah,
pulled.
wasn't it like in LA where they just said, "Hey, we want to test if this bioweapon would work in the weather." All right, it does. And then like there's a
Well,
whole case.
they like, there's one I heard where like they paid a bunch of prostitutes to get a bunch of Johns. They brought
Yep,
the Johns
MK
in.
Ultra.
Yeah, MK
Yeah.
Go on.
Ultra. Yep.
And then they had like like trying to create psychics, whether that worked or not. I mean,
And that
that's
turned into Stranger Things.
Oh
well,
yeah,
Fun
that's
fact.
that was where Stranger Things, like the idea for it came from, was these declassified CIA documents where they were taking, well, I don't know if they were taking
Taking Kid.
kids without
They were,
permission
yeah.
or with permission from the parents, but they were like
It's one
putting
of the
them in underground layers and having them see if they could move things with their minds or see what somebody else was doing in a different room by closing their eyes.
Oh,
It was like
mhm.
weird shit.
Drawing something on their ceiling and then seeing if they can astral project and read that. And funny enough,
Well,
some of
I
them
mean,
actually could.
hey, yeah, or I mean, if you wanted to get into like the UAP or UFO thing, like there's people like, you know, I guess there's people inside that like, say they've been hired by the government to like see things and stuff like that. I can't think of it right off the top of my head.
That could probably tie in with the 10 missing NASA and government contract scientists that's gone missing, but that's
Well,
another
I think
Oh,
topic.
I
they're
think it's
being found
less.
murdered, or well, murdered or
Well, no,
suicided
well, a couple people like a
Is it
couple
like
people.
suicide? They shot themselves with a gun, twice.
in the back of the
Suicide.
head. Yeah, one. Yeah, they were
Hung themselves,
suicided.
shotgun 10 feet away.
Well, I mean, then there's one I think that happened recently where she was going on a hike and then all of a sudden, she vanished into thin air. And then when they used dogs, they found like a hat of hers or something of hers, and then that's where the scent trail ended. There was nothing after that. So it's weird shenanigans.
Hmm.
So I mean, I
Helicopter,
think that was the
helicopter.
most recent one. And then all these people can be led back to like programs. Like I think one of the guys that got killed by somebody was studying like water on other planets. This other person was high up in NASA, and you don't hear anything from these programs when these people disappear.
Well, yeah,
Well,
government contracts, they can't really say anything, but go on.
no, they're in the government, not they're not contractors. Like they
Yeah,
work for the.
they're
Yeah,
like
but don't they have
NASA
like an NDA?
scientists.
Yeah, like there was a NASA scientist, and NASA had nothing to say when they disappeared. And I'm assuming they were still working, maybe there. But yeah, it's just kind of it's a weird thing, and it's like people are it's like if you like it's like you get a missing person here or a dead person here, but it's like the dead people, like basically from what I heard, I had watched something today, so that's kind of why I know a little bit about it more today. Like on the autopsies, like they didn't do an autopsy and they didn't do a thing, and they just kind of said case closed, and so like there's like nothing there,
Which I
and you're
don't
just like,
know.
wait, what?
I don't know if we touched on this like when we first brought this up. They were all. I think it's either 9 or 10 of them now that are either dead or missing,
Yeah, dead or missing, yeah.
and
Yeah,
they
I
were all
happened.
connected to one singular research project.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
they were all scientists. They all worked in different places. Like I think there were a couple that were NASA, and then a couple that worked somewhere else, and then a couple more that worked somewhere else. But they all were linked to one singular project. Actually, I'll do my due diligence and research exactly what it is.
Perfect.
But yeah, that's why it made such big headlines. It was 10 people from one research project that, like, what the hell's going
Well,
on?
well, I think
Ah.
somebody started making the connections because it was
Mm-hmm.
just like this has been going on for I think about 5 years, right, or so. This isn't
Yeah,
like
it's in, yeah.
yeah, it's a years long thing that's happened, and like 10 people are missing after a couple years, and it's like, well, these are high up like scientists and other things, and then like when you look into the investigations, it's like there's no there. Like I guess one I heard today was there was this guy in the like one of the researchers saw this guy. He lives in a remote village in California, and this guy was walking around with a rifle, and so he called the cops, and the guy got arrested, and then they were going to charge him with a felony, but then it got dropped, and then he let go somehow, and and then he went back and murdered the guy. It's like, huh?
Oh, like he was supposed to be let go and finish the job, huh?
Well, what it sounded like is he was hired to murder the guy, but then he got caught, and so they worked some magic to do it. So he's in penitentiary, obviously. So
Hmm.
then he basically got let go to go kill the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
So
say, while Mr. Monk is trying to find that
Yeah, I
source, I
found
was
it
gonna
when you
go.
guys are done.
Oh, I was gonna start a whole thing, but go. You do your thing, and then I'll go back to the whole boomer generation.
So
Okay.
this is from News Nation. They were part of NASA's DART project, which tested whether asteroids could be deflected. It is 9 scientists currently dead or missing.
Do you think an
well,
asteroid's coming to kill us all then? Like
Well, I'm
they
just
had
kind of
a
like asteroids be deflected. I'm like, yeah. I mean, the science behind it would be kind of hard, but I don't think it'd be that hard. I mean, there's a couple things you could put a barrier or like an energy field or some kind in the way to like
shoot a
basically,
nuke in space.
or I mean, granted, obviously with the technology we have, no. Um, or you can create like a gravity well of some kind to pull the object in question outside of the trajectory that it was going in. So like those are a couple things that you could do that I know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have enough thruster and momentum and power behind it, you could probably grapple it and then pull it out of the way. But obviously, that would require technology we don't have, and all the technology I just said we don't have. But I'm saying those are the kind of the things. But like with conventional weapons, probably not. Like with what we have now, no. I mean,
Well, they always say the military is like centuries ahead, and they said that in 1950s the military was like 50 years ahead. So given acceleration on advancement and all that.
well, I mean, like, I'll just say this: how far ahead can we actually be when we can't defeat Iran? So,
Well, maybe we don't want to bust out the big guns. Like I know we're being stupid, and that's another thing I was going to mention because that ties with what I was going to say. So I think we spent, or the secretary, someone said that we spent around like $2.5 trillion on this war so far, and that's just being conservative. He said that that number may be significantly larger, but I ran just a simple calculation: $1 trillion divided by the average house in America, 400,000, and that's above the cost of goods sold. So you could probably build a lot more houses with just 400,000 with less than $400,000. But that amounts to $2.5 million houses being built with only with 400,000 being each um, cost. So like we could have been like fixing a housing situation that could have fixed the economy. People could
well,
finally
yeah,
not have to.
yeah,
And the
everybody.
boomers in their generation more than, and this is Reuters, I'm quoting from them, by age 27, they owned their house, not paying off a mortgage, not anything. They owned
Yeah,
their house and had a, like you said, a very great economy.
yeah. That's why a lot of the older generation think the '50s were the golden years. It's because like nothing really bad was happening. Everybody owned their homes, and then like, and then the '60s happened, Vietnam. So you can't really say that's a golden year. And then
No.
you know, and then also like the women's kind of started getting more into work, and then and then they kind of that kind of diluted the salary pool for everybody. So like because everybody was able to like have one job and support their family. But now, when you had two incomes, it's like, well, then everything went up in price, and because you had two incomes, so then, then it became more rather than optional for a wife to go to work, it became mandatory for a wife to go to work, or at least
Hmm.
one of the spouses, if you were married, to go to work. And
Yeah.
then it became like a two people household for the longest time. And then, like, and then at that point, it's like, well, then they kind of keep cooking everybody because they keep deflating the wages because they obviously want to increase their profits.
Hmm.
So the
Then now you
best
have
way,
2 times as many people in the workforce.
And then they get rid of the pension, or at least less and less, and then they say, "Oh, we're going to give you a 401k match," and then whoop-de-doo, you get no pension, and you just get 401k matching.
well, yeah, I mean, but though I think that had more to do with like deregulation, like in the '80s that started happening
Mm.
under Reagan.
Yeah,
I mean,
trickle
if
down.
you want to trace back to like everything that's gone wrong with the U.S., can probably be traced back to Reagan in some way or fashion.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of the one that started the downward spiral of the United States, even though he was like extremely popular. But then, like when you go back and look at his, things, like it's like, oh, I mean,
Which one
it's
of his wives was blowing people in Hollywood so he can get roles? Was it his first or second one?
I don't look too much into Reagan. This is news to me.
That's
I can
news to me as well.
Yeah,
I can
also,
find that one. Sorry, not to throw that out.
yeah, I mean, but like to me, it seems kind of like Obama. He was really popular, but obviously, if you go back and look at his policies now, it's kind of like, huh, he didn't do a very good job, now did he? It's like, I mean, I like the guy. He's smooth with his words, but like if you look back at his policies and everything he did, it's like, well, he did Libya, like which isn't great. He did Syria, which isn't great. Um, you know, he basically killed more people than most people with drones and everything. So he was like the world's terrorist at the time. Um, and you can make a joke like, well, his name said it all. But I just thought of that, so I threw it out there.
Barack Hussein Osama.
Obama, yeah, but like they're all like kind of as in the West, you know, in America, view terrorists, we view terrorists as Muslims, so obviously that's where that came from. So, so yeah, I don't want to any you know people from the Middle East being like you son of a bitch. I'm kind of like I'm just saying that's what we view. I know that's not reality of the situation, but you know, so yeah, please don't kill me. Anyway,
You like having your head attached to your shoulders?
yeah, well, I'm not in the Middle East, so luckily, hopefully, I don't get dragged on camera and all that fun jazz.
You're gonna be on
So,
live leak next week.
Oh, okay, I found it. Okay, so Sacred Days and Nights of the Reagans book. It was an the author is Kitty Kelly, and it was Nancy. It was that wife. So
Nancy
that's a
Reagan
fun.
was blowing people to get movie roles.
Well, for Reagan, so when he was in Hollywood. So yeah, she worked on MGM lot, and well, and according to this author, she was known in Hollywood for her physical presence and rumored sexual representation. So, and in this book in 1992, this book in 1992 claims that she was found performing oral sex not only in the evening but in the offices. And that's from Vice News, guys. Fun facts. Anyways,
well, I mean, if you wanted to really go into it, that's kind of how Hollywood works. I mean,
yeah,
granted, one hell of a wife, like, but at the same time, either he basically put her up to it, or she loved her husband that much. So it's like either he was a real dick, or she really loved that guy.
I
or maybe
wonder
she
if
loved the other guys.
Weinstein. I wonder if that's how Weinstein got his start.
Oh,
What do you mean?
absolutely,
Nancy
yeah.
Reagan offered to blow him, so he just thought that's how it worked.
Well, I don't. Well, is he that old? Because wouldn't all this been happening in like the 60s and 50s?
Well, I mean,
Well, I would
Weins.
imagine Hollywood would have been doing this forever. Like again, they're
Yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
maybe not forever, but the
I know
corruption.
practices of exploiting young girls and then having actors exploit them and then use them and then throw them away. That's been going on in Hollywood forever.
And then
Uh,
that's where you get the whole child actors. They are so prominent when they're like they what do you call it? They peaked when they're kids, and then they go into a drug habit. No, they were less behind the scenes. And sorry, we don't talk about that.
well, yeah, I mean, so and then as a joke, it's like you know, some like if they wanted to make money, they could always just sell their V card to somebody.
Yeah. Oh
uh,
my God! Imagine what they did to JB, like in Hollywood, like Justin Bieber, and
I
then
think
like,
Diddles had a part in that.
yep, Diddy, like obviously, and then they had this whole Netflix for us to say, hey, Justin Bieber, shut the fuck up. Look at our like soft influence and political power. You can't say shit without looking crazy. Or I don't know, maybe that. I don't know. What do you guys think? He went crazy because of the Diddy stuff, or he was just a shitty kid at the time?
well, I'd probably lean more to bad influence.
Yeah,
It
he
was a
was
shitty,
probably just a
but
shitty kid. Cause do you remember when he was like pissing in the mop bucket at an airport? Like, who does that? That's
I don't
just a
know much about
badass
him.
kid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about his whole thing other than like he's kind of a controversial figure and a pop idol that girls goo goo gaga'd over when I was growing up, I think. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then like he kind of started doing weird things. So I mean, but yeah, like, you know, obviously influencers, you can't like usually a lot of the things that happen like, you know, on camera isn't their personality off camera, so you can't really say much. I mean,
Yeah, and
I'll
didn't
just
his parents sell like the like guardianship over to was it Usher or Diddy when he was like 17 or something? I
or
forget.
imagine,
I think
I
it was
mean, if
Usher. Cause wasn't
yeah.
I
Usher,
think
yeah.
Usher was the one who like found him.
Okay.
So how much money did he pay them? I wonder. Anyway,
I'll get it.
yeah, man, like obviously there was some financial shenanigans, which this just seems kind of bad. He's like, "Give me your parental rights, bitch." Um,
Well, I'm
Sorry.
sure he did it so that he could like sell his like record catalog and everything from when he was a kid.
Well, no, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know why he did
He's
it.
just
He
taking
wanted,
pure advantage of stupid fucking people.
I mean, yeah. And then also, if you wanted to know about the exploitation of kids, the Olsen twins.
Yeah.
I mean, they were big when I grew up. So,
God,
and then
have
they're
you
nowhere.
seen them now?
Oh
They look
my
like
god.
ghouls. That is something you don't want to. If you Google that, like clear your search history after, because it will haunt you.
I've seen some. I mean, I know they run a whatever agency. I watched like a thing not too long ago about the Olsen twins, and it's like, yeah, like their parents kind of media trained them to like death, or like had people on the outside media train them to death, so they were kind of like zombies. They were so media trained, and then it's like when they wanted out, I'm like in my head as a joke, and slash half serious. I'm like, man, maybe they had to sell their sister into Hollywood so that they could get out. But they're also tangentially,
Yeah.
like they only live at the behest of them because their fashion agency is a huge contributor into Hollywood. Like, people in Hollywood are the ones that buy their clothes. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like, so basically their fashion thing is only being bought by people in Hollywood, which means still a circle of Hollywood still has their grips on the twins.
They sold their soul forever at that point. Yeah.
Well, I
They'll just
think they
always
wanted
be
out.
intertwined.
Well, I think they wanted out, obviously. So, like, I guess there was obviously these are all like, if all like nonverbal agreements. It's just kind of like an understanding. They they tried to do a fashion thing, and then Hollywood got involved because they're like, oh, it's the Olsen twins, and so that's kind of how that connection happened. This is all pure speculation, so don't sue me.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly.
Well, I said all pure speculation, so it's just
So,
speculation.
yeah.
I'm not alleging anything. I'm speculating.
Or alleging that you're speculating. How's that?
Yeah.
Well, What do you mean? That makes no sense.
You're speculating that it's alleged.
Yeah.
Well, I'm creating a scenario in my head, and this is why it's a speculation. It's more of like basically giving you a storyboard idea of kind of how I think things played out.
Allegedly.
No, that's what I think. It's
You're
an
like
opinion.
Charlie Day in that it's always sunny, where he's got the fucking red lines connecting in the mailroom.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, anything's
Who the
Wait, do you
possible.
guys remember
Who the
that
fuck
scene
is
in Sunny
Pepe
Philadelphia?
Sylvia?
Wait, do you guys remember that scene where Danny DeVito's like, okay, but I went to the island, but
I
it was
went-
only for the snorkeling.
Yes, it was for the snorkeling. Wait, I took you guys. You guys have been to the island. What? You took us to a pedophile
What?
island?
How did they actually do that?
Yeah, they did
Yeah,
that.
oh, let me get it. Okay.
Yeah,
but-
send the link. That's a must watch. It's good.
Oh, I know it's not always sunny. This is a good show because my friend showed me some things on it because he thinks it's hilarious. It's funny. Like I've like they have like a Baldur's Gate thing with like Danny DeVito from It's Always Sunny, of him like coming out of the cushion at one part in the thing
Oh,
as
yeah.
if like Baldur's Gate background. It's like, like what the fuck?
He's all oiled up coming out of the leather couch.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. It's like, what the fuck? But yeah, that's just what it is. Yeah, I mean, this show is outrageous. Oh, and plus those guys are just funny. Their Apple TV show just got canceled though.
Which one was that?
It was about
Is it called Dragon's Quest? Is that
yeah, maybe. It was basically they were running a gaming company, or one of the guys from It's Always Sunny was running a gaming company. And it was like a multiplayer online thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty good. And the first season was about shovel.
Huh. No, I've seen it on. I have Apple TV. I've seen like the placard for it when I've been scrolling through, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as Always Sunny. I mean, because I've seen some episodes, but it's pretty good. It doesn't have everybody. I watched like a thing like, because they were all on the set of one of the late night shows, and they basically were like, because him and this other guy's wife had like a love scene, and it's like, how was this love scene, and then one of the things is like, well, everybody in here banged my wife.
Hey, typo, I get it.
You guys can help me with my thing. We got to shred a bunch of documents.
What? What are you talking about, man?
Well, the thing of it is, may or may not have been the official beverage supplier of Jeffrey Epstein.
What?
Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, but before you judge me, know this.
Beverage suppliers.
Yes,
and
I was on the sex island, but only for the snorkeling. I didn't know anything about the kid stuff. No, look, 95% of what went on down there was not pedophilia.
Oh, yeah?
No, the other 5%, that sullied the whole operation.
Yeah, it sure did, Frank. Yeah.
Well, it ain't just me. You guys' names are on those documents too, remember?
What? Still?
God damn it!
Son of a
Frank,
bitch.
No, I don't have time for
Yeah,
this.
it was that
Come on,
girl.
be quick. It's only a couple boxes.
Ah, shit.
Because didn't Charlie have like a thing a couple years ago?
She's married to Rob McElhaney, who's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was her and Charlie had like a love scene together, and they're like, "How was it?" It was like, "Was it awkward?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're trying to talk about it, and then obviously at one point he's like, "Everybody here's banged my wife," like, and then Dave, like, "Yeah, I banged her in season 1," and like this is like, yeah. He's one of the writers, so he wrote it, which is the funny part.
Oh yeah, actually, there's a lot of relationship. Obviously, this isn't politics, current news, whatever. But so Charlie Day is married to the woman that plays the waitress.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and
So,
then
like,
Rob McElhaney married Caitlin Olsen. I think like all of the people ended up marrying co-stars.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of a relationship they had prior to that.
Hold on, I'm reading something, and I was trying to circle back to Erica Kirk because I talked about the whole real estate company she was working at was like part of a military thing. But what it is saying now from this site I just put it was the Hindu. Am I saying this right? Hindustan Times. Anyway, here's what it says. All right, so Erica Kirk, part of Turning Points, worked as a real estate agent with New York City-based real estate dealers called the Kurakan Group, and then later goes down that, however, this link resurfaced amid the DOJ's release of the Epstein file because the Kurakan Group handled the sale of Jeffrey Epstein's high-profile properties across the U.S. To compensate his victims, and the Kurakan Group agent Kerry Warwick, who listed and sold Epstein's Palm Beach mansion in his New York townhouse. So there's an Epstein connection with Erica Kirk. With that, I was not ready to.
But yeah, I mean, I'm watching something now. The thing I'm watching now is basically saying that her mother is proven as a CIA spook. It's kind of what I saw. I'm like listening to before this. So, I mean, yeah. So basically, like she has like, NASA things. She has like a multiple amount of names, all this other stuff. So it's like Erica could, is probably more of a personality because obviously before she met Charlie, she was kind of like, like on like all these like dating shows or whatever things.
Oh, just for cultural.
You can pull up like if you go, she might have deleted it because people were like going back so far, but I know like on her Instagram and stuff, if you'd go back to like 2015, 2014, like she had like pictures with like crazy famous people, like of her hanging out with them when she was like really young. So I think even before like all of the like stardom, she was pretty well connected.
Well, yeah, I mean, if her mom's a CIA spook, it wouldn't be surprising because there's a suspicion that CIA has a heavy amount of influence over Hollywood as well. So yeah, it wouldn't be that difficult to that to happen, especially if your mom's a spook and she's dealing with that. She would mean she'd have access, so she'd be able to connect her daughter to all these things when her daughter's probably like whatever, or if she just wanted to create like an asset out of her own daughter.
Yeah, just groom
which
them
I think
to be an asset.
But now they're saying that Erica Kirk is kind of like the spokesvoice or turning point to keep the young blood neocons to want to go into the draft, to want to fight, like just getting that energy from that past generation's mindset of continuing to fight for America.
Well, yeah, well, she didn't go to the like I guess a TPUSA event, not because of security concerns. But then it's kind of like a lot of people pointed out, well, didn't JD Vance go? It's kind of like, so it's not secure enough for you, but it's secure enough for the vice president. Like what?
Yeah, that just
Yeah, that's
happened like
double
fairly
check.
recently, right? Was it
Yeah,
this week? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, huh? So yeah, it's so weird. And plus, I keep hearing it's like, where are the kids? Like she doesn't mention anything about the kids. I heard there's a rumor that the kids
They're
are actually with
snorkeling at
Charlie's
the
mom.
island. Sorry.
No, I heard there's a rumor that the kids are actually with Charlie's mom, and and stuff. So it's like, huh? Like,
Oh.
does she even have a custody of her kids? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And she doesn't mention them. She doesn't say anything about them. All she talks about is Charlie, and it's kind of like, I guess were the kids even involved in Charlie's wedding that we could see, or not wedding? I mean funeral. In Charlie's funeral, like in the TPUSA event. I mean, granted, obviously you don't want to probably, put the kids on there, but it's like, but I guess I heard Erica was on there like crying on Charlie's coffin apparently. So
For
she
those
made
real
it
tears, though.
spectacle.
Yeah,
Well-
it seemed like more of a spectacle than anything.
Well, I heard like JD Vance talk about like how they loaded up Charlie Kirk onto Air Force Two, which is kind of like, what do you mean you loaded him up onto Air Force Two? Like, why are you even dealing with the body? But anyway, I digress.
Yeah,
He
that's
was kind of like,
more of a cover-up.
he was basically saying when that happened, she was like crying and all this. And I'm like, JD, have you ever heard of a Black Widow? Considering that's the name of a woman that kills her husband and takes all his money, it's like, you don't think that those women have crocodile tears too? Like, why do you think there's an expression about Black Widows? Like, because they get away with it, and they're pretty well convincing considering they got away with it. So it's like, you don't think there's a thing with acting?
I think the public consensus is maybe. I mean, if you were to ask me, I think she might have been in on something. I mean, one of the weirder things about the Charlie Kirk assassination that got me was, I mean, this could have been instantaneous too, but like both Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump tweeted at the same time, and I have to be careful with the source too, because I don't know if it's right or not, but this was like the same minute that Charlie Kirk got shot, but I know they sent that same message at the same time on Twitter. Have you guys heard of that one?
I have not.
No.
All right, let me find that.
Which, really fast, can we talk about how hilarious that Drewski skit was?
Oh my god, it was the best.
I haven't seen what you guys are talking about.
You
gotta find that. I'm looking for something else.
yeah.
So
do you know who Drewski is?
I have absolutely no idea.
So he's just like an online like kind of comedy. He makes skits and stuff. But he did a skit that was like every conservative white woman, and he basically just cosplayed as Erica Kirk. And it was like the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. And people got so mad.
No. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say she's really that conservative. I mean, she's like, pray to Jesus, but then like, yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, I haven't really like anything I've seen with her hasn't been really all that religious. I mean, I know she talks about religious stuff, but like, I guess there was a thing like somebody clocked like when she said like something about Jesus, like her eyes kind of went out of focus and like you could see like shaking in her eyes, like she was possessed, like because she had to say something like. So I mean, I just saw something like that before on Erica Kirk. So it's like, but yeah, which I thought was interesting. I get to see this.
Yeah, I've got the volume was very loud.
On your feet, boy!
Yeah. We're praying for all the soldiers and troops.
That's great that you're praying, but
How about all the kids that died when the USA hit the towers?
It broke my heart. That is the
Yeah, I get it.
But it's
Oh, where's the one? Especially.
yeah, it's this right after that was getting everybody.
In what ways have you grown closer to Jesus?
I serve a righteous God. And that is why we say our prayers. And we are all his children. But when I say children, I mean like the holy, blessed Trinity, which is why I hold the Bible.
But yeah, I mean, you get the gist of it. Like, she always does that, like, stare into the camera after she says something, and he just, like, nails it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty sure
yeah,
we're
so-
gonna get going here shortly.
Yeah, I've got to get going. We're gonna have to cut this one a little bit shorter than the last one.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
correct myself here. So it was right after your show. It was just that Trump and Bibi just posted at the same time. So nothing too crazy.
Yeah,
It's coordination. Oh my gosh, guys.
Yeah.
They knew it, but they knew beforehand, and they were like, you know what we need to do? Make this look as suspicious as
We
possible.
have to tweet at the exact same second to get our story straight.
Yes.
3:02 p.m. Both of them. Alrighty. Is that all?
Well, I mean, that just goes to show like how much our Trump gets his cues from Netanyahu.
3, 2,
I guess
1,
there was-
post.
Yeah,
I guess there was a thing that's like, yeah, JD Vance was reporting back to me when he was talking to like this Israeli people. And he basically in Hebrew, it said report back to me. Like he was reporting back to me on like the conversation that was happening in the negotiations, and you're just like, what do you mean reporting back to you? He says that about a lot of people. He's just like, yeah, they report back to me. Like it's like, what do you mean report back to you? Like what? I mean, but that's the translation. But then I guess because there was a big hoopla, they corrected it. They were like, well, no, it meant it's like briefed, but like their auto translation as he was talking, he said reported back, and that's probably what he said. But they're like, he meant briefed.
Correction.
Yeah. But I don't think they changed the video, so it's kind of like, huh. Like, I mean, either he's just either playing it up for his people, or do they really report back to him? It's like, huh?
Or it could just be feeding to the conspiracists, throw everyone
No,
off.
that's why I said. Well, obviously, I mean, he's got to basically make himself look strong, so it wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility that he's telling his people that he basically has so much influence that they have to report back to him to make the decisions.
Right.
That's it.
You think he makes
So-
it up, or it's because he has makeup?
Well,
No,
no,
I'm
that's
sorry,
what I said.
guys.
No, that's what I was saying was the fact that like he's either making that up just to look strong for his people, or it's like, or you could take the other route of, no, he's just being serious.
Oh no, I was making the joke that he wears
I know you
makeup.
said makeup, and I got it, and then I went on another tangent. Don't worry, I made the link as I was making my explanation. It's fine.
Nope.
I was in my teaching moment thing to where I just
Yeah.
rambled about something. So, I'm like, all right, I'll just finish my ramble.
Welcome to the club. All right, but yeah, we gotta.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to end it there. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody, on the second episode of Honest Hours, supported by our 9 to 5s. Thanks.